also have colleagues that have gone looking for thylacines in the highlands of New Guinea. So far, yeah, people anecdotally say yes, get thylacine, but it's unlikely there might be.
Well, they're very hard to find. I mean, like, try finding a wolf. There's wolverine populations are pretty healthy, but good luck finding one. They're very, very, very difficult to find, unless you spend an enormous amount of time alone.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. So, and then you're dealing with thylacine, you're dealing with very unpopulated areas, extremely hostile to people. But there are anecdotal sightings. Hopefully that thing does exist, and I would love for Forrest to be the guy who finds it, because he spent so much time looking for it. But other than a dying species, I can't see a good argument for keeping these things. It used to be that a zoo existed before there was video, right? So if you wanted to find out about a lion, the only way a child could see a lion was to go to the zoo and go, oh my God, that's a lion. Look at that lion. And it is educational for children. But at what cost? And are there better resources now? And I think video is a much better resource. Much better to see lions in the wild.
No, I mean, of course, zoos were originally created it was like good civic planning 150, 200 years ago. Like, to have a park, a zoo, a library, when they were building a city.
Right.
So they were really just built as, a good city needs to have a zoo, it's entertainment, and they weren't really designed to be, have anything to do with conservation or anything to do with animal welfare. But yeah, today, you mentioned the oryx here in Texas. There are species that have either gone what we call biologically extinct, which means that one animal can't find another, virtually extinct, or they are extinct in the wild. Zoos may offer some hope for those animals. We can put them into what's called assurance colonies and try to maintain genetically diverse groups in a zoo for the day that one day you can return it to the wild.
Right.
Maybe a reason to have animals to captivity.
How much success there been in returning animals to the wild, though?
Well, where we live in California.
With your boxer.
No. Back to the example he's talking about is like California condors, California condors, or black-footed ferrets, or animals that, what's called there's an endemic horse that we've done some work with, but yeah, it's much less than it should be putting animals back into the wild that went extinct or went virtually extinct. Much less than it should be.
Yeah, it should. I mean, it should be a priority. With certain animals specifically.
I'm trying to think of a really good success story of an animal that went back into the wild. So California condors, the problem is they reintroduced them into the Great Grand Canyon in Arizona. When I was young, in the 70s, 28 of them left in the wild. They brought them into captivity. Today, there's probably hundreds in the wild, but at a very expensive price tag. What made them go extinct in that case was the lead bullets that kill a deer. Condor would eat the deer and then die from the lead. So condors, to use that example, it's just a lot of management to keep them alive in the wild.
I think there's some dispute about that.
About which one?
About whether or not it's the lead from the bullets that's killing them.
I mean, that's what they say, but maybe.
Yeah, I was reading something recently about that. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't attribute to if you think about the number of animals that are shot with a bullet that aren't recovered, it's so small. That it doesn't make sense that it would be enough to kill off these animals. Probably some other factors that we are not considering.
I believe that because a condor in a day, not to go off the chart, a condor in a day can travel 400 miles looking for a carcass.
Right.
And I would suspect that, the fact that there's just less carcasses out there
might
be part of it.
I think that's the argument. I think the argument is there's less predators and there's less prey, right? So you have a decrease. So like California, for example, like you have a fairly small deer population because you have so many animals that kill deer, right? So you have California has a lot of coyotes. California has a lot of mountain lions. And there's a lot of people where I used to live in the hills that did not like coyotes. I'm like, do you like rats? Okay, well, if you don't like rats, you should like coyotes. Yeah, don't leave your dog out because your dog's going to get, and my daughter's puppy got killed by a coyote. And I've had chickens killed by coyotes.
But ranchers hate coyotes.
And they kill fawns. They kill baby cows. They kill baby everything. That's just what they do, and that's their job. But there's an ecosystem. That's a part of the ecosystem. And what's really natural is ranching. Okay.
But there forever, there was a bounty on coyotes where you brought in 2 ears, got like a buck,
Mm-hmm.
and people would bring in 100 sets of ears, get $100. I mean, they were vilified. When I grew up in California, the ranchers next to us were sheep ranchers because sheep were dumb and coyotes could get sheep easier than calves.
Mm-hmm.
They would trap the coyote with, those horrible traps. They'd pour gasoline on them. They'd light them on fire and let them run off burning. I mean, they hate coyotes, which is really unfair.
Well, they're cool. They're just not cool to eat. But they're a fascinating animal. I mean, I remember when I first saw them, I moved to California in '94, and I was staying at, do you know what the Oakwood Gardens are? It's like those they're pre-furnished apartments that you just rent, like people that are like sort of transient. They allow you to like have a place before you get a place.
Perfect, yeah.
And I was driving in Burbank, and I was driving down the street, and I was like, fucking dogs. Where's dogs running? And then I drove over. I'd never seen a coyote before.
Wow.
I was like, that's a coyote? Oh my God, there's coyotes in the street? And that was pretty rare then. But 30 years later, it became insanely common. I would rarely go. I lived in a fairly rural area where I lived in California. I lived about an hour outside the city, and I had a lot of acres, and it was cool to live out there, but you experience a lot of wildlife. And I saw coyotes almost every day. Almost.
Yeah, they look like a mangy motley dog.
But they're cool. There's something cool about coyotes. But the reality of coyotes, I don't know if you know why they're so successful, but one of the reasons why is because they're the only. So red wolves can interbreed with coyotes, that you get the coy wolf. But gray wolves do not breed with coyotes. They just kill them. And so because the gray wolf, which lived in California and lived all over the West Coast, was the predominant predator, the coyotes had to develop a way of surviving. And the adaptation was when they call out, they yell out at night, they're trying to do roll call and figure out how many guys are around. When one is missing, the female will have a change to her reproductive system where she will develop more pups. And then they will expand their territory. So because they were persecuted by wolves, they expanded their territory. So now when people came in and started killing off the wolves, which they did successfully, but they were never able to kill off coyotes because of this trait. So coyotes are now in every single city in the United States. This was not the case just 30 years ago.
They're what we call, there's a word for that, it's called subsidized predators. And these are animals that do better around man. And crows are one of those animals, raccoons are one of them, coyotes, they're weirdly can thrive and do better around human activity than a lot of other animals. Coyotes are one of them.
Because of garbage.
Yeah, because of garbage, because of water, bringing water in arid areas. So they're a highly adaptable creature. And just for the record, I do like coyotes, and I listen to them almost every night having a tailgate party at my house.
They're cool.
They're cool. They make the eeriest noise together. They caught something.
Yeah, but I'm sure you've seen that video from Woodland Hills where this man was unloading his car and a coyote came and snatched his toddler, like right in front of him. It's hard. They're fucking predators, right? And you have to be careful. Little things, little people and animals will get eaten by them. And that is what they do.
Like dingoes.
Right. Dingo, my life. There's no doubt that we live in complex ecosystems. And we do not like the idea that we've developed these bizarre establishments called cities. And in these cities, we have removed ourselves from nature. And, if you go to the mountains of Colorado, people are well aware of mountain lions. are well aware of bears. They have to lock their garbage. They have like a neighborhood email list where they talk about like bears broken in this guy's car, and everybody's on the lookout. They understand they're living in this system. Most people in the United States that live in urban areas have no idea that they're in an ecosystem. We've essentially done some very bizarre stuff and isolated ourselves from nature, which is one of the reasons why we have this strange idea that we are not animals, that we are not a part of nature. You know, it's just weird. We're fucking weird. We're weird in our justifications. We're weird in what we allow ourselves to do.
Yeah, and that's back to the chimpanzee. That was one of the things that I just never, you know, I couldn't ever connect with this woman Tanya that kept this chimp and try to explain to her, you know, that we are chimps, effectively. And you know, and she just, you know, took the page out of, you know, Genesis, where she just said, you know, we're not animals. Animal, I can own it like property. Anyway, that was just one of the things that she just never really fully understood.
Well, to be kind, she's not bright. You know, she's not a bright woman, not a well-read woman, you know, unfortunately. And this seems to be part of the theme of all these folks, which is weird, you know. And then you got the one guy in Tiger King that's essentially running like a little sex cult, right? It's that guy.
Doc Antle.
Yeah, and then you've got the Tiger King himself. You got Joe Exotic, who's also kind of running a straight sex cult. But, you know, he's got all this personality and so interesting, fascinating. And if he wasn't in jail, it's really unfortunate. If he wasn't in jail, he'd be a very popular person.
Can you imagine?
Well, he's trying to get Donald Trump to exonerate him and pardon him. I mean, he was constantly, after I talked about Tiger King,
I'm sure, yeah.
I get messages from that guy. I don't know how he's getting me messages. I'm assuming it's someone who works for him. But I get messages all the time. Like, you've got to get him out, put him on your podcast. Like,
He also has communication. You know, between video calls.
you know.
Yeah. But there was a moment when we were filming this like second installment of Tiger King where we covered the pardon, presidential pardon. There was a real shot where Joe was actually on a list, supposedly, that Trump was going to like
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious.
So I don't remember exactly what the specifics of his accusation. So was he caught trying to hire someone to whack that lady?
Yeah.
So he was.
Twice, yeah.
You know,
And that lady, is there any truth to this idea that she whacked her husband?
Carol Baskin. There's a lot of circumstantial, maybe evidence. It's sort of who else?
It's not clean.
Else, and it was either, it feels as if it was her or members of her family, and they were the only ones who gained. And so, yeah.
And what a great way to dispose of a body.
I don't know how she disposed of the body. It's nice to.
Well, you have meat grinders on the premises,
You like
and you
meat
have
grinders.
enormous predators
But
on premises.
I think don't you think the only thing I would say, Eric, is the circumstances surrounding the change in the will. I mean,
Right.
who alters it to account for his appearance? It's a very, very strange.
And isn't there like a disparity in the handwriting as
Yeah,
well?
we did handwriting experts. We did the entire thing.
Yeah.
To prove otherwise.
It's also just when she talks about it.
You know, but Joe, back to Joe, Joe Exotic. You know, I was on the phone with him a lot up until he was convicted, you know, from prison, and he just was convinced he was going to be exonerated, not convicted, and they offered him a deal, which was something like 6 or 7 years. You know, you can flee or you can go to court.
He'd probably be out by now.
Yeah,
I was just going to say he'd be out. He was so convinced, which is emotional. But yeah, how he made that.
By the way, how crazy is that? The plot something. Yeah. I know you locked up.
Plot and then,
Right. But yeah, pros
And I do.
I wouldn't touch that before.
Let's go.
When they found that Tonka was in the basement, and when I saw their film, you guys are filming, I was like, Jesus Christ, this lady is so crazy. She's showing it. With like all due respect, she just does not seem like a smart person. Like, gave her an idea. Like, and then it's awesome. You know, I mean, I think that's part of the problem. Crazy all of it. There's some fuses that are missing, some wires that aren't connected, and then because of the fact that at one point in time it was legal for her to do what she was doing, and they become accustomed to being able to have, and then their identity revolves around their person that has all the monkeys and all the chimpanzees. Just fucking weird.
Well, it's still legal.
It is still.
It's still legal.
I thought they changed it.
No, there's no federal law.
Jesus Christ, you can own a fucking chimp still?
There's 20 or so states legally you can do it.
Oh my God! I thought
Missouri's one of them.
Oh my God!
But background. We spent about 4 years making this documentary series.
First of all, how'd you start? How do you find out about these people?
How
do you get after Tiger King? How do you get anybody to talk to you on camera?
I've known a lot of animal people, Joe, but I did not know about monkey moms. Along the course of making Tiger King, I started filming some monkey moms, and I mean, like as you see in Jim Crazy, you just can't make them up. And so after Tiger King, I was just like, let's scratch the surface, let's check into these monkey moms again. And so these women that dress up their monkeys like dolls, like Joan Benet Ramsey, pageant doll, and they want them to be kids, and they seem to have the same pathology over and over and over. There's a lot of monkey moms out there that we do not film. They have annually something called a monkey ball. They all come together with their monkeys. Anyway, we discovered them, of course, in making Tiger King, and
my grandmother had a monkey.
My
grandmother had a monkey. She kept in the attic.
Really?
Yeah, the monkey's name was Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi used to eat gum. So you give Chi-Chi a piece of gum, Chi-Chi would unwrap the gum, put the gum in his mouth or her mouth. I don't remember the boy or girl.
Do you know what kind of monkey?
I do not. I was very small.
Yeah.
I was very young at the time, and I remember she had to get rid of it because it bit my cousin.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens.
Yeah. But Chi-Chi couldn't be around anybody other than my grandmother. My grandmother was very eccentric.
Yeah, and they're territorial, and they're protective of their owner. So, when I was young, in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, you could buy a monkey in virtually any store across the United States.
Oh my God.
And thank God people realize, like your grandmother, they're not good pets.
You can buy them in the newspaper.
Yeah, and they're not good pets.
I think my grandmother, after her kids were grown, she just decided she wanted a kid forever. If I had to guess.
Oh.
Yeah, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Well, that's our kind of consensus.
Yeah. Also, a kid that doesn't talk back.
Yeah. The great book you'd love is by this guy who had a store in the Treflick. It's called They Don't Talk Back. And these kind of chronicles experiences, for the last.
This was a big exotic animal dealership that existed until the 70s in New York City, but they had everything: chimps, gorillas, elephants. They sold some to the private sector.
Yeah. I mean, you could walk into a Woolworth, right, and buy monkeys.
They still, to this day, catch people with large animal apartments in New York City.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't there one real recently where a guy had a large reptile
right?
Was it snakes?
Venomous snake bite, Eric?
Some guy. Well, there's that one guy. I think it was Harlem who had a tiger.
Yeah.
There's a crazy image of the cops going up the fire escape and the tiger's in the window.
Yeah.
And you see the tiger baring its fangs and going, that was glass, that fucking thing, man. That is so crazy. This thing is trapped in this like regular apartment with regular glass. Like at any moment, the only thing keeping that thing out is it doesn't know that it could just smash that and get on that fire escape and just go run through the street. It just
crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. But the bizarre thing is that there's humans that want those. They want those.
Yeah.
I mean,
the tiger thing is more of a kind of macho. Right?
well, what about Carol then? She's a woman.
Yeah, she's kind of an anomaly. It's funny.
She liked
I interviewed Timmy Hendry. Of course, they're doing all of this. Her Xanadu is called Shambhala with all of her cats. I know you talked about this about Melanie Griffith growing up with lions.
that crazy.
That photograph is
My God, that would be war. But yeah, when I interviewed Timmy Hendry, literally on her property in California, she lives with all these tigers and lions. She built a museum. She's got her own museum, Hendry Museum, where I interviewed her. But yeah, there are some women, Timmy Hendry, Carol Baskin, but generally speaking, I think it's one.
Well, I guarantee if you go through the Texas private collection, there's a bunch of good old boys.
Yeah, exactly.
like that.
Probably.
Well,
got some oil money.
You've got canned ranches in Texas.
There's a lot of them. Yeah, there's a lot of canned ranches, which is very odd, and some of them are fairly small, like a couple hundred acres, and they keep animals there.
Yeah.
It's in my mind, what that is agriculture. Okay, it's just you're doing a different form of deer agriculture. You're not really hunting. Hunting to me is you go into the wild, you go into the woods, and you experience real nature, and it's fascinating, enthralling. There's something about it's also so lonely. There's something about being in those mountains that just puts you in check. None of that exists.
Well, canned ranch, you could go shoot, like in South Africa, a lion.
Right.
And the lion was raised in a kind of domestic situation.
And recently released.
Yeah, so it just sits.
Yeah.
There's no sport in it. Hunting in the United States, for elk or deer, a lot of things people don't know about hunting, which is, one, obviously, the obvious statistic is that more wildlands are protected because of hunting. So, yeah, you're killing deer, but you're protecting all the others.
Well, the amount of money, because of the Pittman-Robertson Act, the amount of money that gets, I think it's 10% of all sales of outdoor activities gets donated towards wildlife preservation. This is the reason why we can have these enormous national forests, where you have wildlife biologists establish what the healthy numbers of these animals are and how many people can go hunt them. And they also know, because you have to, if you shoot a deer, you have to register that you shot the deer, you have a tag, they make sure that your tag is right, you got the right species, you got the right sex, the whole deal. And so they have a very accurate number of how many animals in there, and they spend a lot of money doing this. These wildlife biologists do an absolutely incredible job. There's more white-tailed deer in this country right now than there were when Columbus landed.
Wow.
Part of that is because of agriculture. That's where it gets weird. So agriculture, particularly, I have a good buddy of mine who is he's an archer, professional archer, and he lives in Iowa rather. I always get those confused. And in Iowa, it's all farmland, right? Yeah. And they have enormous deer, and they set these ranches up. He has a place that's like 600 acres. It's all, no fences, animals come and go, but they establish these food plots, and they put these things in to make it a good place for deer to be so they can hunt them. Weird sort of ethical bastardization of the wild, right? It's like dealing with the reality of what you have. You have untold thousands and thousands of monocrop agriculture acres. So thousands and thousands of acres of Monsanto corn. And they're all, these deer thrive there. They don't have wolves. They don't have a lot of animals that would sort of balance out the population. You have insane amounts of car accidents. Like when I was in, I went to visit my buddy there, and just driving from the airport to his house, we saw like 50 fucking deer. And if you're going there around November, which is the rut, the men lose their mind. So the male deer, they're horny as hell. They're crazy. The female are breeding, and the female are running from the males, and they're running right into traffic, and the males are running after them, and they're running right into traffic. It's kind of nuts. It's a really nutty situation because it only exists because there's no predator. So if like California has this bizarre model, and what California was like, I mean, California is I think the only state that doesn't have a fish and game department. They have fish and wildlife. So they treat it very differently. Instead of treating it as a renewable resource where people can go and get their own food and hunt animals in the wild, they treat it like we should have the animals take care of themselves. So that's why it's illegal to kill a mountain lion in California, and they have a large number of mountain lions. It's probably underreported.
I have that all the time.
They're dangerous. They're underreported, and they are a predator, and they will kill you. And they have not often. But, you know, if you're on a bike, the problem with being on a bike is you're moving a little too quick, and their instincts are. They think you're trying to run from them, and they can't even help themselves. It's like a kitten, ball of yarn, and their instincts slip in, and they just go chasing after it. But I've seen mountain lions in the wild, and it is a sobering moment when you stare into the eyes of them. Whoa. You can't do much, man.
Make a lot of noise. You're not supposed to run.
You don't run. If you have a weapon, you know, you should really have that weapon ready because they will jump you. Every now and then they jump people. There's a crazy video. Yeah, I believe 2 people were killed last year in the Pacific Northwest.
Of all the big cats, I think jaguars kill the least people,
Which is crazy
for some reason.
But well, they also live in the least populated area.
For the most part, yeah. And mountain lions, yeah, of course they will kill someone, but not looking.
Right, they're not looking.
You know, it's not like a tiger, you know, has all its prey. You know, get trapped by the local people in India. They have to go out and try to find prey.
And jaguars have to, at this point in time, realize that people have bows and arrows and spears, and every now and then, if you go after a person, you jump. And, you know, so they probably like grizzly bears behave very differently in places where grizzly bears are hunted. So in the lower 48, it's illegal to hunt grizzly bears. So if they see you, you know, if you run into them in the wrong, they're not going to run away. They might run towards you. Especially if you surprise them, very dangerous. And that's why they're very dangerous. And that's why, and they will treat you as food if they're really hungry.
You know, in the course of making Tiger King, I would interview people about tigers and how, you know, what it's like keeping 100 tigers. People would always say to me, I'd rather have 100 tigers than one chimp. And have 100 tigers than one chimp. And that's because chimps, you know, and everyone thinks tigers are dangerous, but chimps can figure shit out. And one of the chronic problems keeping chimps is that they can figure out how to escape. So you can never use a combination lock because they'll sit there all day how to escape. So you can never use a combination lock because they'll sit there all day and figure it out.
Oh my God.
And you got to use off. And I'm just bringing it back to chimps because, you know, people think, oh, it's a chimp, it's cute, it's a circus. Trust me, it's a lot easier to have a tiger act than a chimp act.
Oh, I can imagine.
Tiger act than a chimp act.
Oh, I can imagine. And also, when I was watching this lady's enclosure, I was looking at the steel that's drilled into wood, and I'm like, I could get out of that. I could get out of the 100%. The way that thing is bolted into the woods, all you have to do is kick that door enough. You kick that door hard enough, and that wood will get out. It's the wood that it looks like you're caged in steel bars, but the steel bars are connected by wood. Wood's easy for a chimp to break. They're so much fucking stronger than us. If that thing knew that it could just grab those bars and slam and slam,
it would have worked on that all day.
100% it would have got through. You would have had to figure out a way, way, way better cage, especially the one that you put in our home.
You know, I'll tell you a really weird story. Never would have thought chimps. I was interviewing a guy in Kenya that had a chimpanzee, and the keeper, blonde woman. All the chimp ever saw was this blonde woman. So the guy gave the chimp Playboy, and then it graduated to porn. And the chimp, because he'd never seen other chimps, it was raised in isolation, started rethinking it was human and started sexually identifying with keeping it, and started becoming sort of addicted to pornography. So just to give you a sort of segue, but how crazy! And like chimps, they'll have a favorite show. Like I remember with South Africa, all they watched was Avatar. Anyway, just back to sort of how weird it is to keep a chimpanzee. You don't have a tiger getting addicted to human pornography, or watching Avatar all day long. So anyway,
they're too intelligent. They're just way too intelligent, especially as they get 5, 6, and 7 years old. They get really fucking dangerous. That lady in Connecticut, I had heard that she slept in the bed with the chimpanzee.
Well, that's where I was going. Yeah. One of the things we did not cover, which I always wanted to know more about, is what really is going on in that woman. I mean, I don't want to talk about it in too much detail here, but you have to ask yourself. You have to ask yourself, like, how weird does it get?
Right. I mean, how weird does it get? Wasn't she giving it Xanax and wine? Get that alone.
You haven't seen the
what? Viagra.
She was giving it Viagra?
I'm joking. Oh.
I think, but who knows? Getting it too.
Yeah, you cannot joke. But speaking of that, though, you saw the second episode. We obviously.
Oh, the chimps need Viagra.
Very active.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Actually, I heard chimp fuck 50 times a day.
That's right.
In the wild.
So
maybe they don't need Viagra.
Well, primates are very promiscuous, and chimpanzees in particular. If you notice that chimpanzees have the largest balls of any primate, and there's a reason. The more promiscuous the female chimpanzees are, the more sexually active the males become, and the bigger their testicles are. So there's like a direct correlation between the size of the male's testicles, and they think that exists with human beings as well, but it's more problematic to examine. But
so that's my problem.
Yeah, you're around a bunch of ladies that are a bunch of sluts. You might get fired up.
I never got married.
I think that with chimpanzees, you're dealing with these incredibly complex social structures. I'm sure you guys have seen Chimp Nation.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good because it is a rare documentary that had this established element in that these scientists have been embedded in this group of chimpanzees for 20 years. So these scientists had very specific rules. You do not look them in the eye. You don't get any closer than 20 yards. If they come towards you, 20 yards, move away. Don't ever have food. There's like a bunch of rules. And as long as you have those rules, they behave completely normally. And you're just a thing. You're like a tree or a bird or something they're not interested in, which is really interesting.
Yeah,
right?
Amazing.
Because they got incredible footage of the social interactions. They got a detailed analysis of how they establish dominance and losing control. And then we used to think it's always the biggest, strongest chimp. No, it's not. It's ones that form unions, bonds, communities. Very interesting. It's so much like us.
Well, I think also what's so amazing about that film is, like, give them a ton of credit. Most people that go out to do a documentary don't have the capacity to film that many days. Like, they covered that.
Yes.
I don't know. It was like hundreds of days or something.
Yeah, years.
And years. And I think, they really invested the time. They deserve the credit because they put in that amount of time. I mean, for us, even Chimp Crazy, we filmed
probably close to 250 days.
I mean, most people can't do that.
Right.
So,
I mean, it's incredible. Resources suck. Like, how much did it cost?
That's just where I'm going.
Yeah, my God.
But in order to make a documentary this way, you have to catch it while it's happening, contemporaneously. So you have to be there. As soon as you look up there, you're not going to make Chimp Crazy.
Right.
Or Chimp, what's it called? Chimp Nation.
Chimp Empire. Yeah.
Well, see,
there's two, right?
Chimp Empire, right?
That's Chimp Empire. Is it Chimp Nation another one?
Oh, Chimp Empire.
That's Chimp Empire.
Yeah.
The way that, see, the thing about the difference between your show is you need someone who's compelling. So you have to find someone, and you what's her name again?
Tanya.
Crazy Tanya. and Joe Exotic. You need someone who's like the figurehead, like with the photo that you guys have on the promo of her laying down and the chimp behind her. It's perfect. Perfect. I mean, you need that nutty person to compel you, because there's part of all of us that recognizes that thought would come into our minds, but then rational thought would go into play. Like, you can't do this, they're dangerous, they're big, they get older, you can't control them, what happens to them, it's not fair for them, and then you go, oh, I don't want to chimp. But if you're dull-minded, if you got a 9-volt brain, and you look at this like, I am going to they're more important to me than my own baby. Like, when she says stuff like that, you're like, oh, well, you shouldn't even have a dog. Like, you definitely shouldn't be allowed to vote.
No, but it's interesting you say you have to find those characters, but you also have to find a story. And I mean, you can talk about this, how wide a net we cast. After Tiger King, it wasn't like we just jumped into this chimp world. We were filming Mark the Shark.
We were interested.
It took a lot of time
in the animal relationship, variety of forms. I think we you've seen episode 1. One of the first things we shot years before we even met was this woman, this part of the circus family, Pam Rosaire, watching 2001: Space Odyssey with her chimpanzee. Talk about sobering experience. I'm in Carl this with Chance the chimpanzee, 15 years old, pounding basically a modified trailer home floor, echoing. The loudness was that sound on the floor was so loud I took my headset off.
Yeah, it was a lot scarier, and you were there. A lot scarier to film. The crew didn't have a problem going in to a tiger. The thing about tigers, as long as they're about under the age 4, even though it looks like a full-grown tiger, they haven't gone through puberty yet. They haven't gotten the tiger mentality of killing you. But a chimp, anyway, the chimp filming was much more difficult.
Well, they're also like human characters, wiry, and you don't know what's going to happen. They're on
unpredictable.
That's also how they evolved. That's what kept them alive. You watch Chimp Nation, like those sort of instincts keeps them alive.
Sure, very murderous.
Well, we didn't really know how murderous they were until Attenborough. When David Attenborough did that series, I think it was in the 90s, when he captured the chimps eating monkey.
Yeah,
and this is one of the things that when I had the guy from Chimp Nation on, I discussed it with him. He's like, how often do they eat monkeys? Like, we couldn't even show it all. It would just be like the whole show would be chimps eating monkeys, because that's what they want to do. They want to eat monkeys. Their primary source of protein. They like fruit. Fruit's great. They also like monkeys.
They call us monkeys. Yeah, and they eat. I'm a reptile guy. Range of those chimps in the wild. There's a tortoise, and this tortoise, it's like our box turtles, but it's much bigger. Called a hingeback tortoise. It literally closes up like a rock. You can't see any flesh. Chimps will grab that tortoise, and they'll just bang it against a tree, just crack it up like a cantaloupe.
Wow.
And I'm just saying that because, yes, they're really hardcore when it comes to the way they predate on other animals.
And they're about as strong as a 500-pound man.
That's so right, yeah.
Yeah, it's so insane for us. We had a chimp on a set of news radio, 96 or something like that. There was a baby chimp. It was a baby in a diaper. And this chimp climbed on my back and whacked me a couple times in the back, just playing. It was just having fun. And I remember, first of all, the feeling of holding it is like it was made out of steel wires. It wasn't made out of like a baby. You pick up a baby. Babies are like soft. You pick up a 3-year-old. Awful things. You hold on to them and they're weak. These things were strong as fuck, like in a bizarre way. We like to look at something that's close to our size and think, I could probably overpower that. I know how to fight. I'll fight that fucking chimp off. No, you have zero chance. It's a different thing. Everything about it is different. The muscle structure is completely different. The tendon structure is completely different. And the amount of force it can generate
the arm leverage.
Yes.
Pretty incredible.
But
they also want to fuck with you. They also want to
pull your eyeballs.
People always talk about like a bear killed a lion or a bear killed a tiger. I think chimpanzees, and you're into obviously fighting, and I think they are the most diabolical fighters because I don't know what a chimp would do to a grizzly, but a chimp goes after your genitals, your fingers, your face.
Yeah.
They know how to fuck you up like nothing else.
Yeah, they know how to debilitate you and take away what makes you a human.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they also have zero remorse. So they're like a human. They can think, but they have zero empathy. And they're fucking dangerous.
I'm ready to. What was so fascinating, you think, knowing all this about chimps later, Brother Eric, we were talking about, well, there must be like reported human deaths in the United States with chimp attacks. We couldn't find any.
It's only Maine.
It's only little.
I mean, there are globally.
Globally, a lot of them in Africa, little kids get snatched and stuff.
Kids get eaten.
Kids get eaten.
Yeah.
But in the U.S., there has been no really human death caused by chimpanzees. Now, what was fascinating, and you haven't watched this yet, but in episode 4, we kind of comes like from delusion to reality, and it's heavy. We filmed our first chimpanzee funeral, and what we didn't show, which I remember this now, everyone that would come up to say their piece would share a story where they were attacked by that animal.
Oh, God.
It was so kind of juxtaposition of celebration of life and attacks in the context of a situation they shouldn't have ever been in. It was kind of remarkable.
And animal attacks in general across the board, roadside zoos and private sector, are completely underreported because people don't want their animals taken away. So if a tiger attacks someone, have a huge laceration, they'll go to the hospital with a chainsaw. Because the second they say it was my tiger or my chimp, they run the risk of losing that.
You also have the problem with less than extraordinary people being addicted to extraordinary circumstances. So if you have a boring ass fucking life in the middle of nowhere town, but you also have a lion, like all of a sudden, life's pretty interesting. I mean, and that's Joe Exotic, right? Well, Joe Exotic, I think, is pretty smart. It's odd for sure, but intelligent. But in Tanya's case, like, what would that lady be like if she didn't have chimps? Like, it is the focal point of her life, to the point where she neglected her own biological children.
Yeah, it gives her an identity.
Yeah, in a weird way, in a very compelling way. And when people live boring ass lives, things like that seem like something that's who I am. Like, that's me, because it's extraordinary experiences from persons that
It's
where
like,
did that come from?
With Joe,
I think we like experiences, first of all. There's a part of evolution where human beings, part of our lust for innovation and for constant improvement of our environment and circumstances, we like extraordinary experiences. I think it's what made people successful. I think the more daring and the more addicted you were to extraordinary experiences, the more likely you were to find new hunting grounds, the more likely you were to conquer neighboring tribes, the more likely you were to survive an attack. I think human beings like extraordinary experiences. We like comfort, but not as much as we like extraordinary experiences.
But having some examples like chickbait, like a little cooch gets you a lot of cooch, like a guy that's walking a dog. Joe had tigers to get boys,
which is so wild, man, where he got straight guys. I mean, that guy had some fucking game.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess I see your point.
Come on, if you have a chimp, a baby chimp, you're walking around Austin, Texas.
Sure.
People come up to you and go, "Oh, Joe, I want to Jim."
That's interesting.
I want to go out with you.
What a weird way to try to attract. Well, they always say that about puppies. Like,
that's right.
Guys bring a puppy to
the park. I'm more interested in Carl now.
Yeah, what's your motivation over there with that baby?
Isn't it interesting when you see Carl interact with Marshall? Marshall's like, I don't want to hurt you. I don't want nothing to do with it. Stop biting me. What are you doing?
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah. Well, you got two different kinds of things, Like, one of them is like a little bulldog, a little psychopath, and the other one is a golden retriever, is like a love sponge. Like, all he wants to do is be your friend. Yeah. Be your friend, unless you're a squirrel. And that's really interesting. You watch his reaction to squirrels, his intensity when it comes to like squirrels and birds. It's
the movement, right? It's the movement.
It's just instincts. It just fires up that part in their DNA that knows that that's what they do. But the bizarre thing with retrievers is it's not to eat it; it's to bring it to you. It's always to bring it to you. Like one time I got home and I let the dog out. I opened up the back door and I just had to take a leak. So I took a leak, and then as I flushed, washed my hands, opened the door, he's standing there with a squirrel in his mouth. Like he got a squirrel that quick.
Oh,
And he
so
wanted
happy
me to know.
show you.
He was so happy.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, what did you do? He was like, what did I do? I'm like, what did you do? So I got rid of the squirrel, but whenever he sees one, it's just, nobody had to teach him that. He's locked in. Like that's what he wants to do. He wants to go get squirrels. And he wants to bring them back to you. It's a weird thing because it's like, you understand predatory instincts. Like cats have them. They're the worst. They've killed so many fucking birds. Something like multiple billions of mammals and birds killed every year by outside cats.
The first thing they kill is, songbirds, glass windows, skyscrapers. Second is cats. They are killing machines. They really do take a toll on wild birds.
I went, because I'm getting ready for this podcast, I went down a dirty road last night, a wormhole of cats, predatory cats, and there's compilations of cats just jacking pigeons, jacking squirrels, jacking everything they can get their hands on.
Now, cats are bad unless they're indoors, domestic cats. In Hawaii, cats are the reason why so many species in Hawaii went extinct.
Yep. And Australia. They brought them in Australia to deal with certain animals, and then they got out of control. And now in Australia, they hunt them.
Dodo, because of domestic cats that were introduced into Mauritius 200, 300 years ago, whenever dodo birds went extinct. But no, they're killing machines.
They're machines.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No worries. But it's like, their predatory instincts are more reasonable. Like I understand that they're cats, and that's what cats do. But the weird thing about a retriever is he's not doing it to eat it. He's doing it to bring it to me. Like I didn't even have to teach him to bring a ball back. Like he learned within like the first 2 or 3 throws. If I throw the ball, he brings it back. It's just it's brought into them. Whereas every other dog that I've had, I had to teach him. And you throw the ball, you're like, come on, bring it back. Come on, bring it back. You bring it back, give him a treat. They understand. You praise them. And then eventually they understand commands, and they have this like pathway that you've carved into their system of chasing the ball, bringing it back. We're gonna have fun. Chase the ball, bring it back. Marshall, it was in there. It was already
but that's
in
his
there.
programming, right? I mean,
Which is crazy.
Which is so much of what we found so interesting about the justification for this love that a lot of the subjects we've covered had for these chimpanzees was that they love me. They do these things with me. I've trained them to believe that they have feelings for me and I have feelings for them. We have this understanding, and I feel what we've realized is this kind of imbalance of this mutuality of caregiving that I think exists with a lot of our subjects that we cover, but also some of the chimpanzees. Very, very incredibly selfish around this imagery of needs.
But it's so disturbing. You have a beautiful lab, a dog, that Tanya says constantly how much she loves this chimp Tonka, but the chimp is like incarcerated in this cage. Like, Tanya, you really love this chimp, and Tonka loves you back. Why the cage?
Right.
You don't have a cage for your dog.
Right.
And it just seems so obvious. Tanya, this chimp does not love you. You love it.
Well, I think it does, but it also doesn't have a choice. Right? So if Tanya lived in the jungle, if she had a shack in the jungle, and the chimp lived in the jungle wild and free, how much would the chimp visit her? First of all, it wouldn't be eating chicken nuggets and drinking Coca-Cola, which is weird too. That she's feeding this thing, and she said it has congestive heart failure. Spoiler alert again. It's still good. You still gotta watch it, folks. But if you give a person that, they fucking get sick. Like, nothing you're doing to that chimp is natural. The cage is not natural. The food's not natural. Nothing's natural. One of the saddest things for me was when she was showing it Instagram and just scrolling through reels, and the chimp's just staring at the screen. That was the weirdest one.
That's really
for me, I do that.
No, that's a lot of the sentiment we see from reaction. We are basically doing that ourselves.
Oh yeah, doing it to ourselves.
You're not looking at your son.
You can make a choice.
Yeah, sure.
I'm gonna put this down. I'm gonna go out in the real world and have fun with human beings and have a good time with my friends. You can make those choices. The chimp doesn't have a choice. It's essentially a prisoner for no reason, and it likes the guard.
And that chimp, Tonka was looking at his kids in that footage, and whether Tonka knew it or not. But
and Instagram was looking at a bunch of things, but just staring at the screens. But I don't think it probably understood that those were his kids, but it probably did remember what it was like to have babies,
and to be outside.
Yeah.
Sitting there in that cage in the basement, looking at those chimps washing a Mercedes outside. We both talk to Tanya almost daily, communicate with Tanya.
Oh my God.
And it's the most bizarre communication because, we don't, everyone thinks I lied to Tanya about this film. She would have talked to me anyway, convinced of that. And when I did come into the picture, she didn't skip a beat. And she was like, oh, it's you. Let's keep filming for another year and a half. But she continues to talk with us. And we continue to tell her, Tanya, maybe this is an opportunity for you to rethink and reinvent yourself. Like, it's really interesting.
Well, it doesn't seem like she has a lot of self-reflection with all due respect.
It's hard not to be compassionate with a lot of these people, to be honest.
Right.
It's really hard because
they're humans.
They're human.
Well, especially Tanya, because she led us into her life in such an intimate way. She was really generous. So it's a lot of gray.
I understand an audience. You can have those kind of concerns on it, but part of making it is, we're partially complicit to it as well. I mean, in a way of sharing that story in a way.
Well, the age-old term, with great power comes great responsibility. It is a great responsibility to hold a large chimpanzee house. That is a great power. It is a responsibility. And she should not have the option to have the responsibility. She's not capable of managing the situation. I don't think she's capable. I think the same way, that's what I'm we're left with. Not just that, but infanticide. The reason why female dolphins are so. Well, male dolphins, when they find a female, if the female baby, she will not breed for I think it's a long period of time. I think it's around 6 years.
Wow.
We'll see if that's true. But so what the male will do is kill the babies. The males will kill the babies to force her into estrus. She will start breeding. Many male dolphins. They have sex with all the male dolphins. They're not monogamous in any way, stretch. They just go and fuck as many guys as they can. Those guys will protect their baby because they don't know if that's their baby or not because they know they've had sex with her. But if they have not had sex with her and then she has babies, they will kill that baby.
Are any animals monogamous? I used to think so.
Penguins are, but they only do it for like a year. They're monogamous for like a year. They also
they used to think macaque parents were monogamous and swans, and they started doing the genetics and realized they cheat like hell.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. It doesn't seem to serve any purpose evolutionarily for them to be monogamous. It seems contrary to the idea of natural selection. Like you should be wanting to, if you have genes, you should want to spread those genes as much as possible.
But that means we shouldn't be monogamous.
Well, human beings, we've fallen into this weird thing where we're more than an animal. We are an animal, but we're an animal that expresses our thoughts and feelings to each other, and we are evolving. We're clearly different in that we are animals, but we can manipulate our environment like no animal that's ever existed. We can travel to any place in the world, which no animal can do on its own. We can do all kinds of things that other animals can't do, but more importantly, we communicate.
Yeah.
We communicate.
Tell stories.
Yes, and we empathize with each other. And we recognize things in other people, even heinous people, even like whether it's jokes. You recognize, like, she's not, she was all fucked up. Even that crazy drunk lady, the one that attacked her, like, what happened to her? Like, what was her problem? It couldn't have been good.
And she's the one person still alive who I really wonder right now what she thinks.
The calmness while her daughter was being attacked on the phone, the calmness of that phone is
suspicious.
I think when that lady from the liquor store was talking about how much that lady drinks, like, who knows what she's even responsible for. But she's got to be out of her fucking mind all the time if she's drinking that much booze.
No, I think she wanted out with the chip. I think she was as caged as depressed as the chimp, possibly in that house after 15 years living with the chimp that she thought, was her son, and later was dressing, chimp was living as her deceased husband. I think she wanted out, and somehow she figured it out.
Well, the life choice is really remarkable. They're also basically cages. The humans taking care of the chimpanzees.
Right, right,
Really
right.
think about it.
Right.
And the same goes for Sandy Harold. This what was so great about revisiting that story in Connecticut. We basically we were set to come out with this show in March this year, and we were basically wrapped in November, and we were going to be finishing, and we suddenly got access to the entire Travis story. We worked with this guy who wrote this incredible article, a New York Magazine article, Dan Lee. It's one of the best written articles about Travis, called Travis the Menace. He has no attribution sources. You don't know who he's talking. So it's a kind of foundational piece for the Travis story. We tracked him down, and every was part of that story, and they have archives. Do you want to? We basically said, this is going to make our story better, meaning that we're going to have to extend for at least 4 or 5 months to do this right and postpone our entire delivery schedule. And once we got into it, it was so worth it because we got this total intimate view of what it was like to be in Sandy's world. This archived video that you see, it's never been seen before. This portrait of a family, the kind of very complex family life that's inhabited by Travis, which was a descendant of Connie Casey's place in Missouri. If you think about that, where our starting point project always around how do we understand where captive primates from Connie Casey place, this kind of breeding ground for animals that were kind of built for Hollywood. And what's interesting is kind of this lineage that led to Travis. Travis was sold to Sandy, and then so incestuous that they're all connected. And you'll see a little bit of that before. There it is.
Travis the Menace.
And it's a remarkable story. Who bought Travis from Connie. It was
How much does that photograph freak you out?
Yeah.
When you see that chimp at any minute, you just decide to pull that baby's head off.
And when chimps an aggression, it's not like us. We smile because we're happy. That's not a happy chimp doing that.
He's trained to smile. He's not. He's trained to show his teeth.
Yeah. Right.
It's more like a happy smile, I guess. If you want
Right.
So it was interesting. We go into it, and
that's true.
Yeah, he got too big.
Well, you're giving him the standard American diet.
But look at the canine compared to ours.
Oh yeah.
The dagger.
Oh well, the bite force, everything. I mean, everything about them. We are so watered down by the evolutionary process. I was real aware of that when I was touching that 2-year-old chimp with diapers. Like real aware.
Yeah, sure.
It's a different thing. And when you're taking this thing and you're, it's a time bomb. You have like 4 years where you can control it, maybe 5, right? And they say after 5, it's like you're basically rolling the dice anytime someone comes over your house.
Yeah, that's basically it.
So crazy.
But he was, this classic story. It was a gothic fairy tale in Stamford, Connecticut, because the suburb of Manhattan, where the South was happening in Stamford, Connecticut, and Sandy had this kind of void in her life. She buys Travis and raised her, and you see the story, the same arc as every family setting. And they have to appreciate in terms of our kind of idea that we show the story really well. I think is this chimp is happy, connected to the community because he's free. He's socializing, he's a town celebrity.
Right,
he's at work, answering phones.
Yeah.
Filling out paperwork.
The mascot of the toy shop, Desire Me.
Right.
Yeah, he's airbrushed everywhere on trucks.
And he lives a cool life. That's a cool life.
And one day,
everyone gets to see him, right? And one day, he gets too aggressive. This incredible story, which we don't cover in the talk, but he's in this intersection, very busy intersection in Connecticut. A little boy throws a can of Coke over to the car with the chimp. Chimp gets out. Stops traffic. And it's covered in the news, and it's a joke. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's plenty."
He's trying to get a hold of it.
He's irritated. Why would you buy him a can of Coke in his car? Meanwhile, Sandy gets back in the car. And cool.
2 hours.
2 hours later, right? The state of Connecticut says, "No way, you can't have this chimp anymore out in public. You got to put him." So this chimp is out in space for the majority of his life, and then built to confinement for the majority of his life. And so fast forward, but what everyone kind of talks revisiting time is it was Anna. It was Elmo. Maybe the relationship wrong. He wanted to go for a ride. Car, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Right.
And then he runs into first Darla, representing that. What do you think's going to happen? He left already. The guy who's digging the grave. That's the way I think. Yeah.
It's like a person.
Therefore, always see a big rock. Crazy. Travis is just rocking. Just like a
Right.
big cats do a figure eight over and over. Chimps do this rocking. If you see them, that's chimp.
We love this love, but we're interested because we control things. You know, it's great footage. Jim Gordy, when he covers in the show, inspired me. That scene with Gordy, the chimp, is probably one of the most beautiful displays thematically that I've seen of horrible. It's tragic.
The one person that has the 15-year-old chimp in their house, how are they able to avoid all that?
She's careful. She's 7-year-old Pam Rose. Years old. She was asked what she wants to do with her life and with animal family. She says, I want to train chimps. I want to get hard. That's culturally.
That's real good that Pam has.
Okay, you're thinking about more different measures, but like
I'm thinking about attacks.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's a really good question. I always wondered how come she's one person that has sort of been immune to it, or has she?
I think she's got some. Look, I think she's lucky. I think it's the best way. I don't know what happens behind the scenes. To be honest, to be fair, I think when I was interaction, there's a real understanding, and she got on them. I mean,
they are new. They
castrated. Yeah,
castrated.
sure. They're
they do their canines. Oftentimes, they do have to alter them to be able to continue to work with them. Let me say the story that we go into. One of the things we learned is that so many of the monkeys that are being sold are coming across the border from Mexico, just along with probably drugs. And more recently, in recent time, we've seen a lot of Central American and Mexican species coming into the U.S. There's a pipeline. I'm sort of saying.
Well, yes, it is. We didn't realize how dark we out of it because we were so close to it, and the reaction from people is very heavy. We're all desensitized from seeing this. There's some really interesting stuff that happens before Joe. I hope you finish it. Including another attack, but this time with a person that we know. And
Are you teasing?
pretty good. Okay, good.
No, come on, man.
Similar.
Yeah, now you're giving away. Fucked up the whole show. I'm gonna look at her ear the whole show now. That lady with the 15-year-old chimp, is that the only one that you know of that eats full adult? As if just right.
Well, maybe Pam, the chimp doesn't leave the house.
It's in there sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes, but it's
and how much of the castrating it changed?
Significantly, because Buck in Oregon was castrated, and
the Connecticut chimp, was that castrated?
Probably, but Buck was castrated and started wearing a shock collar.
Right.
In order to manage a chimp 4 or 5 years old, they typically remove
Dog is common. Don't even think twice. Oh, is your dog neutered? Oh, you're a good pet owner. That way your dog's not going to have unwanted puppies. Thing a chimpanzee. What did you do to him?
It's like,
but also, by the way, think about what the medical care. There's a horse vet, right, and a chimpanzee.
If you're lucky. Yeah.
So if you think about the care, it's really horrible. But I was going to add to what you were saying, Eric. One thing that we learned through the process about kind of what is it about. Mainly, we're talking about the very niche subject matter of captive chimpanzees in America, which we learned there are really only about 1,300 remaining in captivity, which includes those who are already in sanctuaries in the U.S. About half of that 1,300. And big zoos. Big zoos have about 250. So in terms of the kind of roadside zoo private home environment, it's between less than 100 chimpanzees in captivity. So to answer your question, there might be more, but it's hard.
But globally, there's still many. Thailand, all over. So the U.S. is less and less
there's less and less. The the primates in general, monkeys, we're reported somewhere around 50,000 people in America have primates, and 50,000 American welfare, animal welfare. So that's what through that we had to zoom out, and I think that what I've learned personally about organizations that are doing something to protect wildlife populations of chimpanzees, a lot of great ones. So we've been supporting a program that's doing 12 project sites in Africa, $10 million, 10,000 chimpanzees. We're hopeful because basically going to do it.
What do you do though, with animals that have been kept in captivity their whole life? You can't really introduce them to the wild, can you?
It depends on not chimpanzees.
Like scientific experiment lab 80, bringing chimps and re-entering them into the wild.
Where they live, it's like a freshwater river. They have these chimps, but they're displaced in Africa. But yeah, to release them actually back into a population of wild chimps, sure.
With cats?
Face, image of releasing a tiger in Russia was captive. They have done it with cats, actually. I work with an organization that's been releasing jaguars back in northern Argentina, where jaguars have now disappeared. But the jaguar program is very, they do it very carefully. They put the jaguar in these enormous enclosures, let them capture wild prey before they release them. It takes a lot of time.
Well, I mean, we were talking about house cats earlier.
Oh, house cats.
No, it wasn't snakes. I just meant cats in general. But I was saying that house cats, which are completely domesticated, you come to them, pet them. If you let them loose, they survive fine.
Yeah.
Feral cats. They all have instincts to kill and eat things. So I would imagine cats are one of the easiest ones to introduce to the wild. And you have things that are one of the problems with people that live in rural communities is when bears start attacking your dumpsters and your garbage can. They know it's there, and you can't get rid of them. They will come back to that, no matter what. You can't scare them off. You scare them off, you're only scaring them for an hour. They'll be back.
Yeah.
They know there's food.
Where we live in California, we have bears, black bears, and we have mountain lions. And almost every night, you see on our street, a certain night of the week, because you're right. They learn that. They have a pattern, and they go after those dumpsters.
California, big ground.
California state flag is a grizzly bear.
Crazy.
And we work with an organization trying to bring them back to California.
Settle down, folks. Settle down. Keep them alive where they are. Get nutty. All these people eat animals okay, it's just, you have to understand, you're playing God.
And there's a reason it went stakes, because they California shot about years ago.
California's named the black bear. Yeah, I think it's Stephen Levesque. They were big bear because and I think all things was good, but once you've established an ecosystem that, and if you make I believe I like humans more than I like other animals. This is my thought. I believe that we're more important to each other. Doesn't even care about bringing in things. Hey, it's not good for us. It's not good. We don't have to reintroduce them. I think our solution would be let's make sure that wherever they went, their populations are fine. I think that's probably the better solution. There's been success of reintroducing wolves into Montana, Yellowstone reintroduction. Yeah, they did have an open problem of ungulates, because bears can only eat so many of them, and wolves are more clever, and they act together. It's kind of balance things out.
We work with the Turner Agency, and the Montana has been probably the key eye to bring back gray wolves into this part of the but without because we do this, even gray wolves, there's a lot of controversy from ranchers. Imagine bringing back big grizzly brown bears to California.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem. But people that live in urban areas understand what that problem is. This is the problem that Vancouver. So British Columbia outlawed brown bear hunting. You can hunt black bears. People eat black bears, and you can eat brown bears, but most people don't. And they have in their mind hunting grizzly bears is in line with what they want to call trophy hunting, which is gross. Killing an animal so you can stuff it. It's gross. We all agree with that. But the reality of grizzly bears in rural areas, I have a good friend who lives in northern BC. He lives in a very rural area. They're fucking dangerous. He had to shoot one that was trying to break into his cabin 3 feet away. He shot a large grizzly bear trying to get into his cabin and eat him from 3 feet away. He said they're really bold now because they haven't hunted them for a few years. So if you're running into a 4 or 5 year old male, they don't know what it's like to be hunted. and no one has any feelings of being nervous around human beings.
And you remember the Grizzly Man, right?
Yes.
Timothy Treadwell.
That's fascinating.
He was lunch.
My favorite unintentional.
Yeah.
Werner Herzog, I think, made that movie funny on purpose.
Of course. That's like our.
It's really good. It's a good movie. But I never forget watching it in New York City. I was watching it in the theater the whole time. I was saying, like, oh my God. Like, I was angry at this guy.
Right.
You know, he was like worried about his bandana or his whatever he was worried about. I was so pissed watching it.
But it's the same thing. It's a less than extraordinary person who gets attached and addicted to extraordinary experiences. You're constantly around these. I mean, he got some incredible footage. That guy got some amazing footage. He did some fucking hard camping. Okay, that guy was out there roughing it for a long ass time in a tent, surrounded by monsters, living in the grizzly maze. He was a maniac.
Yeah, the talking baby talked to him.
He pulled it off for a long time. But you knew what was going to happen if you watched that. Like eventually, something's going to decide to eat.
Right.
That's exactly what happened.
It's like these chips with these women.
Similar, but at least that guy's going to where they live.
Yeah, of course.
That I don't have any problem with someone deciding to do that. You're that fucking crazy, and you want to throw yourself into the system and maybe live for as long as it lasts. I mean, maybe it also was suicide by bear, right? Because that guy seemed really depressed. Didn't seem like he was having a good time.
Yeah, but he had the bear eat his girlfriend too. Like
the
him
bear ate
eating
his girlfriend after they.
Right.
It killed him and him. She was hitting him with a frying pan.
Like his battle damage.
I do too. Again, like what kind of like?
But think about a question about reproduction or attacks that occur. There was a story we didn't include, too tangential, but there was a neighbor of Missouri Primate Foundation party where all the animals were bred. At a time in the 90s, she had 42 dogs living in the house in a single property. One escaped. The 19-year-old boy recognized his dog in the area and attacked by a chimpanzee. He grabs a gun, chimpanzee. He gets charged with destruction of property, felony.
Oh my god!
Gets out, his dog, and his name is Jason Coates.
Who the fuck tried that?
And then guess what? Here's what happened. Two years ago, I think, he was expunged finally. Can't get work. The guy's like a contractor and he could get work.
That's so crazy.
He could have been in that situation in the first place.
Like the you understand chimpanzees. Chimpanzees responsible. Not the man who's defending his life.
Yeah.
You know, so for chimpanzees, they decide to use a lot of survival military. That's how it is. And if that guy is not armed and he can protect himself, then what do you have? A person gets torn apart by a chimpanzee. The idea of protection from someone is an idea apart from an enormous animal that's insanely strong and aggressive and has control.
So that was a tragic story. It's really hard making these so many good stories all coming.
Well, you have that discretion. Casting subjects. I mean, it's a choice. But I don't think the idea is it was also kind of far we were going. Right. I think
it seems like you can do
continue with this thing. It's harder. It's harder and harder to do.
But is it also harder to get people to be natural on camera, to not be performative?
It's harder. It is hard now. It's hard.
Right, how are you, Doug?
These people that generalizing, but the most part, they're very guarded about letting.
Appreciate it. I'm taking a pic. Going by any second. I got bots on top of bots. Pick anybody's clip, and chances are has never done that. And I'm pretty proud of that. Yeah, basically. Right. Exactly.
Viral.
100%. But if you buy millions of tickets, right, right. But then I'm buying one ticket or 10 tickets. I'm buying millions of tickets with the amount of impressions that I'm making on their system. Like here, let me just show you. Let me show you, just to give you an idea. I'm not doing anything right now. I would like you to just go to any Kick creator. Go to the top creator on Kick right now. I don't know who it is. Just look at their clips. You might get 20 in a row that say Rabbi Rothschild. And I'm not even done. I still have another robot I have to program. And like, you can at this point go to any creator. You'll see on his page it says about. It says chat, about, categories, clips. It says like videos. That's okay. Go to any. Just about. I mean, if they have really small stream and they just started within the last hour, they may not have gotten them yet. But it's getting to the point where other people are having to spam themselves just so my name will show up on their account. That's okay. Just go to someone's page, press Control F, and type CLIPS, the word clips. And then look on the page where the person's. Oh, very interesting. Okay, so whose page are you on right now? Let me look. And you're on a desktop computer. Okay. Now, it's not his chat. It's not his chat. So as I'm looking at this, just for a moment, let me look at it in a desktop version. Yeah. Okay, and it's next to about, and then you'll see videos and clips. Okay, just one moment. Just one moment. I'm looking at it. Just one moment. Oh, I think I know why. Because it's an 18 or older. Does it say I am 18 plus? Yeah, you do. Just for a moment. Look at it. And yeah, fine. Okay, here's what I want you to do if you can. Just go to pick.com, and do you see where it says categories? Go to just chatting. Let me know. don't use the function, and you should see CLIPS. Many people on who they are. Warren, J. Okay, use a picture in your computer. Like in the upper corner, you see where you would sign in as a profile. Then there's like okay, okay, that has the play button with the square. Now press Control F. Go to go to filter by or sort by recent. Yeah, that's sort by and recent or date. You say okay. I'm just scrolling down. If you see the in the name, it should say every other one. There you go. So I'm putting those up. Like a minute website, the amount of fucking clips being made. I mean, just incredible. And what is that? Well, if you were on the app, it's very prominent. Oh no, my chat's not in it. No. Oh, I am going on why? Because I've been getting a lot of attention yesterday just I'm gonna I could well they will ban me. No, ban perhaps ban I am serial ban. I feel it's up to right. Yeah. Right. I ignore the because I use their website. I like the website. I'm they because
That's how we do it. Okay.
yeah, it's difficult. And not all devices will let you. Not all they'll let you do it. Basically,
So, with the block of person would have a block of bias. Person bias.
I know what it is. No. You're the way I'm the way, like said. This is the way that it I even still that's basically anti of everything which they could do. It's highly unlikely. Exactly. That's the risk they don't use their platform against the TOS to use APM. The reason why is that so many people do be able to participate in the gambling in areas where their state's territory or country doesn't allow. Right. Right. I think, but yeah, it would be. I believe about smoking car and how that's legal. You can't drive, you can smoke and drive. No, but even still, something that has been grandfathered in. Right. Right. Well, I think that the strains of mortality. It's a simple thing about control. The powers that be don't want you to. All things that you're saying we already have, you can realize, like what? The ability to levitate. Okay, a helicopter. I want a flying car. Okay, helicopter. I want, you know, exactly. I want to be able to travel from one place to another instantly. Well, you can do that, yes, at least in the ground world. But you can jump and be clear across the other side of the world in 24 hours, which is better. Like you were saying, we should be able to. So it's really now not so much about can we, it's about how much. Really unfortunate. Yeah, it's going to be curious answer about it. Also known as a it's when apples, apricots, cherries, right. And this is why blind tribes, Eskimo don't get cancer. People in indigenous don't get cancer because they eat all the parts of the access to fruit. And if they're where it's very cold, like they do it, they able to utilize the and vitamin 7 and eat the rest of the time. So they're able that way. Every time it is, you know that they used to have like in like the heartland, they would have like 100 years there was like sorghum and like all these different grasses and basically the modern remove country design all making like poison and they started out by using science as a little bit of it was to kill the cancer with like why do we develop cancer in certain parts of our body? Why do for your health and the cells because it burns the body fast, because it has happened by something instantaneous within days you'll be fine. If you want to see this, you and blood and this eating your tree. I want to know about this about how joy are. The way that I learned about this is from the book a Wood Cancer and also made I saw that about your question about cancer and what does and if you ever have heard about scurvy on the disease where people have and either Americans will refer to as limeys because limes and put it on the voice for a longer time. Anyway, vitamin D, vitamin C, and there you go. You want to know the security clearance right there. And one part about this that's really animals with cancer. Why? If you go to the wild, there's no source, there's no radiation around, there's no they don't have cancer. The hunter killed find a tumor. That's right. It's only when you give the nutrients that you're wondering, well, how carnivore know that their the stomach and sometimes like rabbits and things have been eating berries and eating massive of B17. The gut of those animals ingested a lot of their why you find that's why Native Americans never get cancer. And all if ever animals eat when the way that fruit there's apes, any type of rodent, they immediately open the outer cover seeds and center. Some instinctually they know that nutrients. Right. If you would, I'm sure we talk about it for a long time.
People like out and I started going into more human basically start looking at humans. But anyway, I just bring that up. The byproduct tiger thing that something that we did just quietly. People tiger. You got out in the tiger because hundreds of brackish water, and they think the Russian tigers that salty water and concentrated. They seem to tell people, there's this story of a group of minnows, and they're going to go in the water. I don't know if they're wrong. They're trying to get away from the tiger. The tiger jumps into the water, swims out, kills the guy, drags him to water, jumps back in the water, swims out to the boat again, kills another guy, drags him to shore, and one guy gets one or two guys got it. They were asked by their but yeah, that's also more surveys animals. But it's also insanely people find where they are too. Because it's high. People took things, that's what their job is. And the people live around them, people are on the map. That's what it is. It didn't make it into we filmed something called just one national park. Tigers are doing very well. And they actually armed guys with machine guns. Tigers are poachers. We don't care. They remote. I don't know how many people killed it. There's identity. But, it's all the reason we think you should they're much bigger way to sort of there where they don't live like that. Or the spectrum between the world. Yeah, it feels like if you go with a tiger, they hardly people probably know sort of a traditional way. In North healthy cat, they're sneaking every I see a cow. I mean, these kind of that's what they love. That's a bad thing. That you have to starve, they choose not to eat cows. Yeah. And they got in the traffic stopping. When they have it's one thing. Watching this people that were not religion. They lived in. They got arrested for killing cows. So they had cows and they were arrested. Those their homes. And I don't think it's tigers. Soon you're banned in the area where they act. How many people are based? How many after beef and fridges? Slaughterhouse, which is worse than assumption. Look at that. Kind of true.
fridge and
Yeah, you can be the hair.
Yeah, you can get a.
that's what I was saying. You can eat yogurt now.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
A lot of people think about mushrooms. That's still silent on cow manure. That these people, because one of the oldest known musicians, which was a cow, had like fiber, like barely getting by. How are they like worshiping cow? That's where you got all your mushrooms. Mostly thing that you could attribute to like ancient stories of Soma and different cyclones that the Hindus would eat.
That's okay. Like, I nice person. Was he a fuck? Sure. That's pretty cool. You're supposed to play that. You're supposed to play the like your friends. Coach. Current friends has been like the longest employed head coach of any division any coach of active coaches. Yeah. Like, That's the one with the kids in the hospital, right? Or so I went to the hospital. No, it's not that. They're able to watch the game from their rooms, and then the whole stadium turns around and faces them. So it's like, we're supporting you. Your party is tied. It's a really nice tradition.
Wonder psychological, like what it is about that very unfortunate aspect of their mind being control allows them to just understand themselves. So, yeah, well, I was just going down that path.
Wow. Really sad. And I think it's one of the coolest stadiums to be named ever, especially in today's game when everything's named after something, whatever it's named, Yum Stadium or whatever, this is a situation where you have an individual who was the best player in the United States 1 year, fighting like Iowa, and I don't know. I don't really consider them. I mean, I don't know how realistic that is, especially back then. Especially people like stunt pilots. You know what a stunt pilot had to do? Particularly back in the day. There's a reason why people are able to travel at the speeds they do, whether in the military or something like that, based on the fact that people had to take risks. So he's like super cool. Uh-huh. I don't know if we have any, but it's almost better that he like. I think that he basically classified as the reason why they don't do that we do. Anytime they I say I someone else and he was supposed to be the one that could have been among the things. can't make it. And there's that's why he's not free. He's the one that needs to. All this that happened, rated and they were able to America in the he was he gave up his career, air tunnels. I don't even know what I don't even picture you're looking at this motherfucker. Exactly. The reason why it's not because he just had the out of Neanderthal had, but he and I don't know if you have I like for charge and so if you get on the chart and it doesn't just like right. But you have to understand basically you get another coin and you connect it and you have to use it and what you have to put away connect or so multiple you can connect for a long period of time. You just and you connect the device. Yeah, and and you can say where you want. Just have a content.
Comics will do, and I'm sure about that. They allow it. Yeah, if you get lucky.
I think like age, and you got that stage where like a bottle of this white thing, and heavy beer much, and they go in the next day, let's say, and all the doctors were like, good body brand. And his brother found a expert like in this type of oncology, like really specialized types of cancer. And I remember talking to him, like, and I was looking at him, you're so stupid, and but I saw it, like, I was just believe it, and as he got better, I was like, this guy's fucking deserving. Most people, like, everyone, and he was at a high level on fatal clinic. And I remember talking to my dad about it. Like, yeah, he's too smart, but he read, he knows what he had. Like, he's too smart to go, I'm gonna be there. You know what I mean? Like, he's so well versed. But is it just like you have a successful life because he's super determined? I mean, he's certainly determined and built it up, but I really was like, I credit this guy's. It felt like a level of delusion to believe pressure, but if he's correct, it's not. You're correct. Right? It is kind of crazy. And when he just decides, and he starts freaking out, or he goes to work and gets assisted suicide. And some people go down that path. Yeah, you're right. Right. Okay. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. We'll get rid of it. It'll just kill you. That was something that somewhere. I'm sure. I didn't because this is something you like to find. Like this is the other that I just watched, Scott Peterson. So is that one his new one where people are saying maybe he didn't know her? No, it's fantastic. It's on Netflix. It's a part series, and it begins
The most recent data was 13,241 people in 2022. Wow, that jump, bro. 2022 is 13,000. No, 23, 2024 is back in there. It's sad. It's bringing this. Is there kind of what is it? You take and somebody like my bear, mentor, his body so quick anymore. Yes, it's the same thing that Rabbit was a huge international case here. Remember, Terry Ivo was Irish. I don't know if she had the same thing. She had this poor debilitating. Yeah, and he's still alive. And it get worse and worse. It get worse and worse. He has more than once. And when you say that, I don't know what those are. But no, some people are because there's people that need to come off of it. Need feelings. I've known a few. I don't know people. My friend Tony, which is a college. I work with the job. Things get done. Work around you. Somebody can pick up and pick you up. You can totally change over your house, stake out. Feel better. Top of life that you can have it, and that's all they're actually online. Chatting on the phone. That's not. You don't on someone in real world. Oh yeah. Any contact. Not connected. If you go to Twitter profile, you're all hours barking at people. Important. Make fresh to provide all nutrients you need, and which means it's quality standards you are made to standard. And it's simple food what goes into your life. Such food that's pretty your needs. Every dog is different. Not just dog breed, their personality to every dog. Plus, precise to keep your dog ideal. Of a lot of what should be fast food screening. It doesn't matter old dog. Great time to start testing. So, if you have fresh food, and dog, get free shit. Whoever's the puppet master, it's a moment drops. Whatever doing, we just get her to the room, coach. She's in it. She had the ones like, hey, too. And then like, to me, I'm going to do this. Where it is really, they're tired. It was not, she was going to have she was way prepared. Questions. She was just saying, that's exactly all he wants. They sound bad. They've never seen like this where they got together. That's not a team. That's one with the team ever. You can do it all. So no key and start out strong because I don't. Out of gay. Everybody can't. Like we are, right? Like don't. Fucking crazy. I'm sure. And don't let how you like. Come on. He's like, people want to say something, but I don't understand what kind of person. I never had been under left. Think of vision of years, but yeah, a lot of things. They use this against you. Don't say, "Oh, I'm going to say." When you prepare, it's like the only thing is it's better than anybody alive. People and it's just he's killing people. My guy, fun comic. Yeah. With this that's when it freaks out. Everyone's going to do it for years. I mean, bullshit. Or when we would be a person to be of the tree that you got to live by. If I got me, but if it was announced or people destroy or rather than a chance. And now much closest. That was the late. I saw you. It's real straight back. Issue it's in our state. Yes. Which is the power of products and they say a lot of things. We check the birds, they just aren't, I mean, they're trying to just do you they're also just I think it's kind of that's how they scale it once they if how you do things. What you're doing is just blue. If you're gonna give cards food and even talking to them for drink or the bathroom, I don't know. That's you talking to on the internet or you're talking about shit. You have what look for now, you work, you don't know the amount of 12 things, you hear that, you know, Harris Hill, was 9 and provide transition to the that is great. So, as the 9 she's going to do college. She's going to change them. Which is like, alone. You take the site, you learn animation. That's part of being good. Good. Do you know what's great? Share is the type of event that you or I'm talking to her. Well, no, they want to look like an ear teacher. If you want to look like an ear teacher, but here's the thing. Look, that like the ones you use or like this thing actually because you're just that these loans like it's a commercial. It's pretty cool. Yeah. It's actually you can find you where near like the tour. Like if I'm first did you it's allowed to be invested because you can't really that this is what so there's a different so it's cool. These are here actually so like you ones yeah I'm just yes you're really big way into the fucking yeah go for somewhere kind of tech you could be where you job is the PC monitor and it's fun like if ever you gotta respect what she did but just at least by doing it and she but in the it's still a lot of just really fun here. You have I think that's where we're getting an airport. I think there's only you're letting millions of millions of about hotels here to make like hey why not what's that they sure you vote this one yeah so I think the same people are always the same thing voter ID basis and they're saying you should pick up voter ID yeah our it's like the county wants to do or rendering like look at the guy to take all for a district that does how many were down and keep it in county where you can the nine oh that's Democrat we didn't look like they were like and they do everybody's different everything you say he was saying there and then people disagree about it's not that thing that's happening I read it I'm so happy that we live because this one is really great yeah our name is so look at this left away one rating is that's I know you're I know other people just years ago yeah then you yeah but I do there's like lots of science stuff all the yeah I can get first arc using it just also I get to watch merch I mean I can see on my Instagram executions a lot of Russian car actions like people get electric trains and then it's just cool but I don't know kids and then somebody got a comment but it's like language that person could like damn like to say right doesn't add up at all that was my old weird because they have to perform there's always perform you miss something so it doesn't add up at all it always been in America one of the big versus American differences is that you always have the whole year now reaction to the naked body and the sex metal right like the opposite person loving like SC-17 right but that's what everything I guess how is it getting through Israel filters I don't ask you like I almost contact you should be some particular I was like okay is it you talk to I think pretty sure there is I do know the go around on Instagram needs to be just a caption look at the caption a lot of times like 2024 stages that's basically people figure out that the whatever censor the algorithm doesn't watch the right here is a guy in my truck head on the caption that thing but it's like 2024 and it's called where is how they make that I don't know because who's putting these videos these are accounts for bots so if you look at there's no real comments and things anybody saying that account and then it's kind of like thousands of videos yeah and the I saw yesterday where the drone was coming out against the Putin and then being both and then finally the guy and who say like really who's on rifle actual I was coming to they find you and blow up I think being able to be those give you like a very sobering perspective on
Vietnam, right? You see, like the fact that these guys on the field, on the side are on talking reality human beings, letting them fucking run with the camera is chasing down. Like, it just was.
Well, this is the first time that's ever happened.
It's
The first time ever happened.
yeah, I never. We've seen obviously heard of and knew from like basically satellites that like fly right out of the planes and then they kind of a location fire missile right these little yeah chase people up. Yeah, it's really it's super.
Imagine going to the trenches with that's one of those I killed these people and crazy to gun these guys down. One guy's struggling, only fucking because their back goes off. And it's all 5 feet away.
Fuck, you see that and they're like, do you want to make a prosciutto and mozzarella sandwich? That's me. Like the thing.
Yeah, he told me I was like being scared in the middle of his social media.
Like, oh, you're such a stick. I really want to. I was like, and I always buy out like to work, serial killer, for the show about murder. Like in the age I find it nice. It's like watch like stories for the thing or I just watch on Ramirez. Actually, I don't know. I'm watching it. I think it's true for I can't do a war tonight or for something else because I almost like a 4 for Arbor or 4 11. That was gonna happen. How do you know? They're not in a situation right now. We're just gonna fuck that. That's night. Yeah, and also now to watch very big. Yeah, recently, like the latest one, the latest one. At some point, I was like, okay, this is good. And I watched this one. Absolutely phenomenal. I just it's like a 8 parts. I don't remember what's all. It came out a couple months ago. It's fucking good. You don't realize it. Go deeper and highlighting. Didn't know about it. No education. It's the Nazi people on trial. It's fucking fucking good. They cannot. Just call rights. They go through like real historical footage, and it's just they have transitions. It's so high level enough to picture in a way that I didn't know. It's just incredible. But I mean, again, at 19, question. It was highlighted. They did very well, which is I just don't know what's happening. We have Russia, or you do have a country thousands. Yeah, you just don't know. So how he's decided to do it. Yeah, the whole thing. It's crazy, and you just do one little thing for him. That's fine. I just don't know what that is. Yeah, you don't know that. You know why it's happening. You hear about arms close to Russia, and there was a coup that was probably something like the United States. A lot of monkey jokes. Of course, I think that's another one. Turning back about the Cold War and how the new program evolved and what they're doing, and like how when they came out, that was they postured by take you guys down to, and they ended sort of later that they had like 1,000. But then 7 though. It's enough. But it's also like you also target areas. You get more. You can deal with. Of course, show that but then see how they indicate how their program just far exceeded our 1 point has like triple what we have in the also for an out of bounds but how we both operate on the sense like I don't go across the line. We're all mutually short term. And then because of the administration, they kind of forced the Russians to try to keep up with the military, which kind of it's a calm country. It's very hard to get not making it sound like it's a lot of massive poverty, starvation. Yeah. And you're having massive spending. And then China, like what China's done, China has developed this sort of they have capitalism and communism, which is the way to do it. Like you get motivated by money, industries get used to everything. It's like, oh man, it's a program. It's a program. It's not good for people. It's good for right for them. And that's this is what gave us on this country. Is young people have to understand for us to keep countries. We have to control for information, control what people say and do. Control the media, China has digital currency in some places. Just that's very scary. Yeah. Once the government has complete access to your money, you'll be able to shut your money off. So these people just donate money to start with. Oh, they did. And they got their that's scary stuff. That's banana republic shit. That's walk in. And so far. Yeah. What's called the company? They had a function that really for the funds. President of how long the country. Planning will be after. And for me, I like cars. And I guess dinosaur thing. But no, cool. But what my friend was like, brought up that knowledge. Like, I keep thinking about is we're all electric. If the government could also just go like, there's cars today that have OnStar on that police station car. Yeah. So you're running off the some people that's OnStar. Is that true? Because I think they just shut it off. Like something that they might do. Call up without the car shop. That's the highway. Yeah. Don't worry about Michael. Michael State's a reporter of Rolling Stone. Okay. Police officers disabled car. If the vehicle started and turned off, location blocked to prevent the engine from being restarted. Allow the police to recover the vehicle. Can police use OnStar disabled car? Click back. Circle below. That part. Click back. See if it gets vehicles are turned off. Same thing. So get shut off your car driving. Well, you have the same engine and your high-speed chase if we can. That technology, the disable engine with the flip button helps end the high-speed chase still illegal. Or resulting in the rest of reaching 80 miles an hour. Yeah. So OnStar control this car. Really got a good thing because it is a crazy person. Michael's driving accounts resisting law enforcement. Like, it's kind of crazy that they just maybe even you're whistleblower for some chemical company that's done something illegal and people don't you're stuck on it and you're on and they always got papers on him. Fuck. It's spooky because we know the power. If we had our elected officials, we're all super enlightened beings. They're different human beings, and that only did things according to ethics and rules, moral, and knew what was right, what was wrong. Yeah. And maybe they can reach justification. All that stuff's crazy. It's just too much power to people, and then you feel like justify. What if the people are right? What about someone who's corrupt? Gotta hold that technology and track their act like because you can testify against them. They are whack. That should happen too, for sure. Or sure. Yeah. And then if you start to slow down the car and then it gets them guns are power.
We're seeing our look about the hoopers. And we're asking him the other day, and he was explaining what to do and capturing all these problems. Like, they're not just show stories or you something. They're trying to do something about Trump and showing that about how much it was. And just thinking about how they changed it. It's really, and also the listening thing. And like, when I read them, they're on the end talking in. I was like, you could just talk about, again, because this is weird. You're having this conversation. Yeah, right here. And it's in my algorithm. And then also, I'm getting email. This is very strange. And we did like an experiment. I was like, all right, let's talk about Lamborghini. Like, just talk. And we just talking about it. It's talking about, you know, I'm trying to do my thing. My husband has Lamborghini. I got email about Lamborghini. Like, you know, right? And, yeah, I feel like nobody all had to talk about it. Like, weird having permanent. These sales and when they have to, have you ever done an experiment where all your clothes and start talking about something and see if we fix that up? That'd be interesting. You never know. What should we talk about? We'll make sure that all my shit is closed, everything. What do you think about this one? Let's not we don't ever look up. Yes. High school baseball. Baseball is definitely not mentioned. Right. They talk about high school baseball. High school baseball is still important because high school baseball teaches you teamwork and it teaches you how to work together with friends, develop camaraderie, what have you. And high school, that is my really good money. Right. Shit. Yeah. College, you go. Next thing you know, and you're trying to be, and you're trying to make a you know, high school baseball. I think you just want to be high school baseball. And also baseball, realize that, you know, pitching, you're a real outlier. You get, or just like pitch like 85. That's arms. That's working. Yeah. Those two football. It's just the fastest thing when they're throwing a fastball. That's a great question. Look at it. I got one. Okay. But I'm going to guess 112. I'll get 118. Just walk out. What do you think, Jamie? Do you know what it is? It's the highest game. Highest ever. That's what I think. Or it's like, yeah. Not from. Right. I got the hardest punch. That's the best fighter. Let's take it. Points are trying to get erase. Maybe baseball. What's the fastest pitch? What about in the world record fastball? It's got to be competition, right? Look at all competitions. We just drive it out. Yeah. Bro, you can draw. That's right. That's it. You just figure out a way to do it. So what? That would be so fast. It really is. From a backtrack, I think it's the high level for speeds. Yeah. What? Yeah, I understand. So far, it's just ultimate. I got the name. Canelo Alvarez. Sean Ross Willie. Watch his truck. Baseball. Is he checking out? Right. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Keep checking back. We're high school baseball. And if high school baseball has to be cool, should be talk about the product. High school baseball. Products. But when these products, just the product. Yep, check that product. I want to really research what's our search? Humidors? No, humidors. Cigar humidor. Cigar humidors. What are the best ones? Yes, cigar humidors. I sound too crazy and just overkill. What's the best one for a cigar humidor? I'm not sure why I didn't know that. I mean, it's literally, you know, I don't know. They have outside across the country. I had a gummy mushroom. It's so good. Just like, yeah. Nice. Just had to leave didn't I? I got a lot of functional mushrooms. The last mushroom I've been making, and I didn't use it. They were good. I taken that much before, but I'm like, I'm at just looking like, yeah, when I get riled up at night, I was going to because I was like, I was late at night, I've got too many crazy ideas, it starts freaking me out, it just ruins sleep, the next thing, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then you have a podcast and say about bad guys or shit, and your brain's not working. I would learn that supplements for performance, mental performance, when you are missing sleep creatine. Really? Yeah, like the workout? Yeah, creatine workouts, really good workouts, but also really good for cognitive function. Yeah, if you think about it, what creatine does, exactly. What creatine does essentially is it allows your body to pull more water. There's more water in muscles, increases muscle volume, and helps bigger. Creatine body shakes, it improves your food, body shakes your muscles, may also promote many people to increase strength, improve muscle, and help out with it. Yeah, change over. Increase strength, improve performance, and help keep the mind strong. Never heard the study. The recent study was the positive effects of creatine on people sleep deprived. So the energy supply to neurons that range between health and thinking. So it does something with water. And it makes you gain a little weight from it, but I think you're storing more water. Yeah, that's every day. Yeah, I think every day anyway. I think every day. Yeah, it makes it really does. It makes a difference to your workouts, but I think I have to make things possible if we're cognitive performance. You know, absolutely doing podcasts. You get smarter. Creatine is an osmotically does any bodies are finance creatine that is increased water and remains in body mass. Well, I know that water and there I want to I've never heard of it. Some more recent, I didn't use this as a muscle for high. Just think about creatine supplementation to enhance performance with rehabilitation. Because there's a study showing that, you know, your cognitive performance when you have 4 hours sleep, you know, I know, and it's big, I'm just like, it's 7%, I don't know. Single has been temporarily improve cognitive performance with sleep deprivation. This is due creatine really bad, and rapid people improve process speed, increase intercellular energy expansion, increase high cellular creatine available. No, awesome. That is so fucking cool. Yeah. Yeah. I think every
show with me, like, it was working about your value or A, like pretty off, worse, but mental, I hate the show, of course, and it was like, about stories, and that's just shit. It's like, I couldn't 5 minutes, oh my god, but I can tell that the audience members, I could believe how the really, I was like, I was like, damn, I mean, part of like I had a great, I could calm down, but the big difference between the crush and the average, I didn't, there's a lot of people there just all day, during the military campaign, then a lot of people don't fight with each, but people came to, there was a lot of really that whole army on that album. They didn't want to have to do it from. I think that was them up. But people met on love. The great out. Fucking really serious about this people and do like real nothing possible. They want confirmation. They see that. Yeah, man, that's fine. Why? Every kill? Yeah, but interesting. Want to roll it. I understand. Like, there's like a lot of people weighing in on. You want to see this whole thing later. It's like, I mean, look, I've never had time to hear, black guy, America, in McLaren, and I don't know, like, cops, get pulled over. I was like, yes, sir, too, yes, sir, people like that, then they're not like, whatever, 35 pages, right? But it's not the escalating anything, right? But then those cops, you tell one particular budget issue. Maybe I didn't buy recognize somebody with wealth, they wanted to show the cops, I feel like it's human emotion, right? You can't have human emotion, you can't act on shore, you can't just fucking throw somebody to the ground, is a dangerous criminal, like, he's a violent offender, right? It's the whole thing, it's not, but it's also, like, it's not both ways, right? It's like, all the way down, say, yes, sir, take your driver's license, you need to drive over to what, like, the issue with these shit, that's a fun car, I don't know anything on cars, but so, I know when we were up to one, you had a car that you were doing, I've driven puzzling, but me, cars that just were like, buy, and one thing you have, I specifically, I guess, I really sounds like I never talked to I need to McLaren and Cardo, and I've driven my cars. I've never been more scared of what happened in a car. I've done one, and you're like 70, which is open road, and it's like hazard safe much. And you're just going, and it's just like so fast and so responsible. And I was like, this is it was a feeling where I go, I'm hands in, I want to be in the center of the world. Like the book thing, I guess it's finance because it's fucking pretty cool. It was terrifying. But the conversation that I had was like crazy. I see it, and there's no requirements associated. And he automotive firms were like, yeah, I think something to press something. Yeah, like think about it for that one. That's even lower, but that's like 200. But that thing's insane. That's like 900 horsepower. Insane. You're car. And all the actually crazy. Factors. It's also this is 1,060. So it's almost 100%. Fucking bananas. That's so much power. See if the car 400 horsepower. Like I remember I got a Porsche Turbo in like 2003. And it was 420 horsepower. This is crazy. Yeah, that's fucking crazy. It was crazy back then. Over. Just go down. You really can't down. I'll take my phone. I'm 29. I was in 06. But that's the 06. Yeah, the 06 but that's not. This is 2 hours that was big. Started much less than wow. 400 that's crazy. Well, then you got that Hennessy. I don't think it's $1 million. But you have context. Yeah. Then have a guy that has all of its instrumentation, all mechanical, like a beautiful watch. And this steering wheel turns around the gate cluster. So the gate cluster maintains the center of the wheel. And your steering wheel turns around it and never. No, it's fucking magnificent. Bugatti. I'm not even a Bugatti guy. It's Bugatti tastes like that's Bugatti. But look at that fucking thing. It's money. Basically, all this interior. No, that's the show. That's the cluster. So the steering wheel sits around that stuff. So all that stuff sits behind the wheel, and it's all mechanical clock. Look at it. It's digital and mechanical. I mean, it is just a piece of art. Right, it's probably but you get 3.8 million pounds. Or is that pounds? Or what's that little thing? Quarterly? That's pounds. So it's 3.8 million pounds. It's incredible. But I mean, you just have to run around. Look at that. That's got spins around. Why is there a look at my day? The big Italian say, hey, you do it. Let's flip it around. Because like I said, when Gotti thing, I was thinking, yeah, I was like, don't put it on a station. They can basically, it's Russia. Gino Sampleman, yeah, so it's kind of nice. This last about $14 say, yeah, the video, he's like, $4 million. Look at it. Oh, look at it. The show, no, it's like, yeah, he loves my own. There he is. I busted, bro. Hey, bro, I think like, if you buy one of those, then you really shit. And you're like, and you're right now, but I'm that's crazy. So it means he's going to pay. Like, what are you doing? $4 million.
in this class, you're not going to get Alexa, and that was 900 cruiser style, how do you imagine? You know, for me, and you bumped in artificial intelligence, it's supposed to be open AI, and also product companies, do clearance, and get some chat. Well, you probably read that already, right? So how did you come into open AI? Well, you know, yeah, really? Yeah, a minute. Damn! Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's cool. $4 million car. What do you like about the market? It's like, because he knows part of open AI in the beginning. It's like, it's car, maybe he brought, yeah. No, man, was he fucking, what is it? Open AI, open AI, no, but also, it's not, it's already, so we believe in open AI? What's the, you sure it wasn't clothing actual video? What's the word? What's the origin of Sam on well, very big. Was it a $4 million car? $4 million also like, it's just like we got the thing about those cars are really fun. You know, most fun cars actually most engaging cars is my really cool 94. A Porsche RX America. And it's animation. It's full of yeah, that's great. Way slower, but it's hard to go fast. It's fast, but not like running everything that fast. So it's a yes, and it's a big small. Right. Yeah, like my GTR charger first meant to feel rough, but they're not wrong. They're on awesome ride. You're you feel everything. No power steering. You know, it's like power assist brakes. They're nothing. I just fuck. And it's and it just makes your whole body go. Yeah, that's really fun. Doesn't even doing fast. That's crazy. Merging on the highway, 65 miles an hour is like fucking brutal. Or like that's like just sound. Right, no, because you're 75. Yeah. That's the funny thing. Like tell yourself, you know, when you're together. What's the next one? Are you well? Next one. That one. After one. Yeah, after one. The whole one. Like all the guys want to get chateaus in France. Oh, this will get giant. These land is flat. Yes, but that's good. So if you know school car people, you hang out together. You can on your track. Just going around the fun town. Easy. Yeah. It's like that's what I'm saying. Like it's not about how fast you go. It's how much fun it is to go fast. Like it's also but it's not fun. It's just a fun factor to the roar of the engine, the feeling of the tire shitting. You give yourself all of it. The fun part. It's fun. I mean that's like every day approaching the Nürburgring times, 30 keys, quarter miles. Yeah. And down street. You got these finance kids out there fucking simple F1 track in Texas for sale. Holy shit. I think I got an F1 track in fucking yard. That's not good. Where is that? That was like somebody else. Ocean. Back. What's that ocean? Oh, is that where it was? I don't know. 58 complex still cut. For reasonable prices. Let's go. How far is it? Time. Let's go. Don't make it do this. Come on, dude. Well, I want to win. I'm talking about the if we had a track, we had a track like real close to the cruise. How much I'm having awesome. This is so funny. I love it. Ground, there's some real love. All kinds of stuff. You know, you got over on the top. You did. Copy story going forward. And you do next. Just really honest. Just saying stuff like kill. That's on her. It's really kind of you know. Really, yeah. This is actually and also there's shit on online because you play parks. That's what it is. It's so fun. That's a good guy. Maybe we're bad at Jim Bars. Jim Bars still make what is yeah. Go over to Amazon. It's great. Go watch that too. Great work. I love it. You can tell it's the only track, but he's up to do more of those stuff. Yeah, we're talking about that. All the girls are watching. You do it online. Yeah. It's like crazy. It's rich bunch of tattoo. Yeah. So in more thing for television, that's what you buy. But with the internet, YouTube, different things. Then you get used. So you got to do TRS. Chris Harris was doing it. You want to see that. People understand that. We're doing like that's for you. For the enthusiast, not for the casual person to get cargo. Also, great things you get there. Like and take reaction. Yes, and they give you peaks. Yeah. Like you know what? They see something and they'll give you like you're really thinking. Yeah. That's a lot. Matt, that's awesome. Like Chris works with a singer. Singer is doing turbo now. Oh my god, green one. Go to the show. It feels so fucking proud. You're number one. I was like, cool. Feel and that's what things. You can find the finger turbo. I just want to see one. It looks kind of like an old 911 turbo. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. It looks kind of like an old 911 turbo, but then when you see the details of it, like, oh, it's just way better than regular. Way better than the video. Because the video is crap. That's the original car. This is how I got pushed everywhere. Because that was the first singer. He had his car made. This is just 1 years ago. Okay, this is a dynamic, like the crazy $3 million. This one's different. This is not turbo. This is their super lightweight, incredible car. This car's incredible. Yeah. This car's crazy. Immaculate. Turbo green. Go to videos. Click on videos. And beast. What's this more than 2 years? So look at that. this is the turbo. So it looked kind of like a 911 turbo from like whatever you're doing TV or whatever. But it's white, smooth, polished, and fine, and just easy to turn. It's just their attention to details off the fucking charts. Just happen to see, so that was that far. So they just went over all the things, the massage and changed the car, and all the details. That is fucking rad. Man, cars don't get pretty different. In that dark, cool metallic green, look at that thing. Yeah. How many cars? Sometimes more. Probably DLS. Right.
They can make these, I remember, for last, they make there's a sports before, they make these, just use.
Oh, so starts at 96 but this is a DLS turbo. That's a different look. I'll say that thing looks. That's the DLS. Yeah, turbo, which is big. That's anything like anything resisted. That's the difference. Oh yeah, we're looking at it. Tank. Oh my god, this thing. No, do it. This is like a lateral cross. Yeah, yeah, it's just I'm not clear everything. I did, it's more like, oh, you know, call. I love those people there, like, come to me, they just go start. Yeah. I can't read on it looks exactly. What is this? I go to roof fest, when you see like the new one they have, the crazy, it's water cooled, right? It looks like your car, right? Yeah, I've been like, makes you go like, and there's these cars like that, just like, ooh, that's a 993 turbo base. That's a turbo arc they make. Look at that one. So this one, these ones are weird. The one like Toyota, rough that one. So that one, I don't think is Porsche. Really, how do you start off? I think it's all different. It looks exactly like Porsche. I don't believe it has. I think it's a new car. But yeah, see, Monarch, you fully developed by roof. So Tiger Radiation, the CTR running the window, the yellow was Porsche. Yeah, we're like, what's the 80s? That one, Porsche was crazy. This is not really a Porsche. This is a roof car that they make. That's just, I mean, exactly what that was a 993. That was a 893. This one is kind of like it leads probably to the end. You get to like kind of like nothing. Yeah, it's just there's also something on the side, right? It's so small, packed in the middle. I always felt like very accessible world art. Right. Yeah, sure. Yes, the Porsche, right. Yeah, because he's got Lambo. Right. Yeah, it's like Lambo. Yeah. Yeah, nobody has any ways to do it. They had it in the phone early on. They got somewhere where it's looking at UFC maybe online. I'll do great. It wasn't him, that's probably not you, it was for you. Yeah. I knew that. Because I worked with past from 97 to 98. They posted videos as a child. And then they bought it as one. He kept talking worth like, really? Yes, I don't do it. But I asked him, hey, do you watch T1? Do you watch Pride? Do you know about Seafood? Do you like crazy easy? I'm sure you have these conversations. He's like, how much does she watch? I was like, I'm doing cool stuff. I would go, yeah. I'm like, it's like the name of the word. Like, oh, you're talking about all 7 hours and you're videos. That's what you're talking about. No one's sport. Yeah, that's true. But watch my time to like say, oh, this guy's got a great market. I know. Yeah, that's right. It's really true. I don't know what's going on football. Yeah, so that's fine. Why is it that's like, oh, that was bad. Well, you're in one. Yeah, let's go on one. I don't care. I still enjoy it. And I have room for a couple things in my, sort of things, and it's passionate. But you had to put something that interests you even somewhat outside of combat sports and all that. What sport would be like? Well, a sport I don't participate in. Yeah, like sit down and other content they had on. I think it was like pretty fun. Yeah, I really like watching the soccer. Went to the All-Star soccer. Yeah, soccer's legit. It's one of these soccer's legit. It's never sold in America because it didn't take breaks. There's no fucking commercial time. There's no time to check out the bell. There's like any breaks. Those sports certain time. No one's popular. Yeah, and I tell you, you go see live. I went. It's right. That's what you have here. It's great. You don't realize that it's compared to what you used to American football stadiums. Right. It's because you don't think every house is fantastic. It's yes, great opportunity to begin with. I know somebody who grew up into football and have a family. Right. I was on you. And because in the last week, it's all proven on like some of the right and like should like how it becomes. You know, watching the trade or looking at the height of the guys, the club like Tango, game. You guys are bullshit. Yeah, so I think that and just but like it's again better talent on the side that I think will become a problem. Last year, and I guess and like George seen that there's also not that it's a whole did he go okay, we go all like really he was just incredible to see again. Somebody so talented at their sport and watching it live changed my I went up and I watched first but I did everything. I mean I still feel about UFC, but yeah, watching people so different. It's especially the commentary to watch the actual ones. Oh my god, it's so real. And have a moment of like outside here. Yeah. And I was like wow. But my favorite was Steve Bites is an Apex. Because the Apex are annoying fast. It's right. They go fast and go Apex here. I don't know what I was gonna do. I know they have different fights on Steam. You know, I have video on monitors in the studio where you see the video monitors are showing you the fights of the people that are evil.
I don't know. I just we were on podcast. I'll get a it's a like a history. Like this
comments for that. Yeah, six different small films.
okay, that's yeah. Like all everything is landscape. Yeah, like story. And I don't know broadcast.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm wondering if you can see fights take place on the. It could be an advantage if there was a reservation. I would say. It isn't just right. Just take photos of them going to Instagram. We did pretty well.
Heavy.
Yeah. How do you do it? He vendors, he goes off, he goes on, he's up for a while, and
Yeah, drew up for a while.
yeah, it takes a picture on Instagram. Takes a picture. Now, you're going to huge. You're going to see Walter from the mothership. What dude? Fuck you. Because I'm
I'm a couple months in. Yeah, I think so. Anything outside of that's like I really not right.
Yeah,
because I'm like you know the same. We have to show it. We have great go out there. Protein shake, lunch. I have lunch today. I have chicken green. I have like things like peanut butter, jelly, packets. Yeah, they're all has fast. And have a lean greens, fruit.
I got some organizing for you. Yeah.
That's not I did because I'm shooting a show next month. I was like 3 months out. I don't like that right now. I'm gonna show up. Yeah, I'm gonna show up. I feel like I right. I don't know. I'm not 3 months. I don't do that. Yeah, and like, I mean, you just want to be something. Fuck. Yeah, you fucking shit. So I'm down. I'm down to 204. I got down. That's month. Just can do it. But the thing is, like, when I got home, like, I was like, shake ice cream, making those during the day, and the kids, you know, like shake ice cream flavor. I think, you know, use the very sweet, right? Put it out all over, run the boil it up. Like, yeah, it's like before I'm not fractions. Like, I don't know what it was. Right? Also, you can yeah, that's what it's on yeah, I think sure, okay. And really much is what they found out using blood sugar and like I don't even understand after things so that making sure they realize like everything's and sweet from morning. And then you guys find out to realize stuff is sweet, fucking sugar and they exactly how do you how is it a peach flavor fake with some sugar in it? Yeah, I get fucking apple flavor fake. There's sugar in there. So the sugar is fighting the blood pressure. There's blood sugar. And you don't realize that you're and you eat really healthy and he's like, you have to eat energy all day because he's shit like this and he got much shit in a day. Like I told him I was like, if I'm worried that you like digestion, like I said, just I hear it. I check it out. Yeah, well, I feel you'll be able to like, yeah, like, yeah, I mean, is that normal? I don't know. It's way too late. Yeah, it's not, yeah, 45 years. Yeah, that's one of the things that's very interesting about Robert Kennedy to be connected to Trump in this election. Yeah, Trump wants to expose Robert Kennedy, one of the things he wants to do. He wants to expose a bunch of problems. Like it's used to first side, used both. It's in a lot of those people they test an incredibly high number of people test positive. Because you get organic vegetables, like something. Not just organic. When you're getting from like there's some stuff that is just made on. I think of most like this. I think it might be corn. So the thing most like let's put food. I mean corn, rice, and different different vegetable breast and healthy. They all have the same fruit loops. You can like, you can't put this. So we have to sell different fruits in Canada, New York. Some of those talks about cereals bring harvested rice babies, barley, rice, popcorn, and sort of we take rice, well, I think that part of the thing about people is that glucose food, it was actually not food in the rice. Yeah, that's one of those like huge conferences. Yeah, so that's right. So they're adding them cheap. They're in everything. They're everything cheap. And it used to be in gold, and they become a big saw another print. So it's like that. Like I also like just have knowledge. You have to require really crazy. And you got to for when doctors don't know shit. Most doctors it's shocking all the time. You mentioned study yeah. Most doctors like you know can't be doctor. Sort of the overall. History of themselves. So just don't see. And running around, we all the time we go to that comedy store, we went to a bar, stand up, be public comics, Joey, there's a lot of like all the best back in the day probably was. And so Ralphie, it's a show where we were waiting for everybody outside and all them to do yeah. We're sitting outside and Ralphie for a long ass time. Then I was like, I'll later Ralphie goes up and we're in the backseat, just feel around. This poor guy was so addicted that he didn't get car and driving the comedy store, his bar was like 2 months away. He has like
this is a time where your stomach stayed full. It wasn't even using jalapeno powder, jack box, just acid. He ate his stomach stayed quite together. And we're back. What's not being paid? You have to dial your water and just like I would go. And like let's say I have to like every day drink water, cup coffee. And it's like I'll go, you out, increase the water intake, drink more, and then get ready. It's like okay, get there. So you gotta keep up with water. Before I go over the thing, water, like I start jelly, water, and then I got to do that. And it's like 8 9 like this is like you get you get touched. Yeah, this works like the worst shit. You know, they try to take shit. Yeah, how much time do you have? Like, shit. We might get real shut shit thing down. That's like real. Like, I gotta have a few on the side of this. Yeah, that was really can. That was the back of yeah. They know you were wow. The P1, like I hate. All right, yeah, I'm like still fighting for that. You just carry that. You're not like it's like a comfort the whole time you're standing there. I didn't want to on stage. You know, just piss off. And no, like halfway through sounds like you had it. Yeah, someone got from the right. Fuck. Like I also pee. Like she's wrong. No. Here we go. Argue right there. This has been fun. Booch bottles. Yeah, everything. Gross. You just be wrong. Joey. Yeah, I was like, I mean, it's what kind of challenge for the first job. But I'm not going to have the classes at Maria and like a pool Saturday. Yeah, I think I Saturday. Yeah, I was doing bad. I think there's one go. I think, not that idea. Yeah, this is well drawer and I think I think it's off on so many people are like they're struggling with online. I think someone no, I can't lose it because I never. You know, get out of the
RabbiRothschild